Okay, that seems to work flawlessly so far. We also have a live demo later, so let's see if our luck holds through the whole talk. Hi, I'm Martin. Martin Pichelmeier. It's very hard to pronounce, I know. I'm from Austria. And I'm one of the co-founders of Ride with Leica. And my background is a little bit like I'm an academic who worked at the university in Vienna at the Technical University for a while. And then I started a games company. Then I started another games company. Then I joined IT University here in Copenhagen because, I don't know, because I wanted to live in Scandinavia and it's a good place. Like IT University and Scandinavia. But then I thought, okay, but a company would be nice again. So Ride with Leica, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm Shar. I used to work at Google and Facebook as a product and project manager, but for the last 10 years I've been a video game writer, working on titles like Divinity Original Sin 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. And over the pandemic, Martin and I had a lot of time to sit together and think about things we could do with writing, playfulness, tech, and ourselves.
Exactly, and that's how Ride with Leica came to be. But of course, that was like, we started with this whole journey long before ChatGPT was launched. Generative AI as a concept, as a term, didn't exist yet. Some of the base technologies, actually all of them, were already there. So GPT-2 was like the hot new model by OpenAI, where OpenAI had like this tiered launch process that took months because they didn't dare to unleash something as wild as GPT-2 into the world. Well, times have changed since then, and nowadays generative AI is everywhere. It's becoming included in all of our, especially creative practices, but also business processes and so on, as we speak. And of course, as a young startup, we were one of like 3 writing tools out there 2 years ago. Well, nowadays there are 3,000 coming out every week, it feels. And that's fine. But it also means that we have to be a little bit ahead of the game. And what we tried to focus on from the beginning is just being really very strong in our voice, because most of the things you see out there, especially ChatGPT, is very bland. I wouldn't say it's bad. It is very good at expressing itself. It is sometimes a little bit verbose, a little bit long, but it's very, like Marcus Aurelius, for example, was a Roman emperor in around the year 200. The Philosopher's Stone wasn't mentioned back then. So this whole talking about the Philosopher's Stone, Marcus Aurelius didn't know that concept. But ChatGPT is just like, I'm going to throw everything at this. This doesn't sound like Marcus Aurelius at all. So we wanted to make products that are actually more authentic in the beginning. But nowadays, the authenticity, yeah, that is Ride with Leica. It's out there. We launched it. We have customers. We have a few thousand users. It's free, so you can all try it. It's great. But what is the next phase? And what we see, especially also since the keynote by OpenAI on Monday, is personalization seems to be the next big thing coming along. And I think that is like, on one hand, you have this, okay, AI agents you talk to, nice, personal, but I think we will have it even more with our devices that we have in our pockets that will be full of small models that run on them, that help you with your photo, making every photo your photo, even if it's like syntheticized to a certain degree. And we thought, why not have a look at that? So it's very early. The whole personalization game is only starting now. But maybe we can just come here and not only talk about how awesome we are, but also give you actually something that that changes maybe a little bit your perspective on where generative AI could be headed. I could be wrong in all of that, of course.
Yeah, so we wanted to offer you 3 different ideas that you can use from today to take personalization into your work with AI. And the first one we have to say is fine-tuning of smaller models. So like Martin was saying, ChatGPT is out there. There's a lot of other big models out there, big generic monoliths. But when you actually fine-tune much smaller models, and we're talking really small, like GPT-2 level small, it's like you put a perfect mask over the face of the model so that it will speak in the voice that you want. So to give you a little bit of background about how we came to this space, our journey into the land of the machines began a long time ago with procedural generation. We started out with our playful experiments making Twitter bots before Elon took all that fun away from us. Thanks, Elon. And we would make these Twitter bots using a lot of different procedural generation techniques. And then we got a taste of AI. So way back in the days when the AI that was out there was the InferKit demo, we would type in little random phrases like this in and get all this stuff back. And it got us really excited because I'm a video game writer. So when I see all of these things here, I'm thinking, wow, okay, teeth upon the face of the deep, That's an entire game right there. And if it's not a whole game, it's at least a scenario, a dialogue, a poem, a story. It's something, right? There's something there. Sorry. So we got to thinking about what we could do with this more, and we started thinking about fine-tuning. And one of our projects, our early projects, was basically fine-tuning GPT-2 with the Book of Thoth, which is a tarot card book written by Aleister Crowley, an English magician from the early 1900s, and then making brand new tarot cards using his voice. And we made all of these cards, and it just made us so excited because they all seem like they're completely written by him in his voice. And you can see here the first card. This is the death card. And at the very end, at the bottom of that, you can see I am the only character in the book that appears in the final chapter. And we were like, wow, what a line. I want to read a book that starts with that line. Who wrote that line? Was it me? Was it Aleister Crowley? Is it the universe? Does it matter? The exciting thing is that we have now brought into this place this situation where we can pull these lines out of the collective unconscious and make them into something new. So we started doing workshops to show other writers how to do this, and then we made our own tool, and that's Leica. And you can try it out at writewithleica.com. And what it does is it'll take your writing, so if you have 10,000 words of content at least, and in 4 minutes, we will train a brain that will write like you, with your characters, your concepts, your voice. And as an example, you can see here, the black text is me writing, so I wrote deep down, I always knew. And you can see the Dracula version is extremely Dracula, menacing, contains characters from the book, has this sort of undercurrent of dread. The Dostoevsky version sounds exactly like something Raskolnikov would say as he's skulking around in the streets of Moscow. And the Marcus Aurelius one, well, Marcus Aurelius is a special case because, as Martin was telling you about him earlier, he's our most favorite brain, our most popular brain by far. All of our users love him because he's basically like a non-stop self-help therapist. No matter what you say, Marcus is going to give you something jazzy to return with. So yeah, the personal is personality. And if you want to try it out, you can make your own brain with Leica, but I'm just showing you this because this is our tool, this is how we work, but you can do this yourselves. You can make notebooks yourselves, just like we used to do, just like we did with workshops with people. You can take any content you want and you can make that into something, into a personal brain. So, let's do a tiny live demo, fingers crossed. Okay. So far, the internet is holding. This is great. So this is us inside of Leica at the moment. We can look here and we can browse and see all the different brains that we have. The brains are the fine-tuned language models that we work with. So for example, the manifestos brain is all art manifestos of the 20th century that I made a brain with. So the futurists, the symbolists, the cubists, the dadaists. We have our most popular brains. You'll see horror and fantasy and science fiction tend to dominate a lot because those are the ones that work well with the hallucination feeling of large language models. And yeah, the featured brains. Tons of brains. We have thousands of brains. But we're just going to try it out right now and do a small test. So I thought we could write a prediction for the future of personalized AI. And we could try using one of our brains. So I was going to use meditations because we've used that one, already talked about that one today.
That's the Marcus
Aurelius
book.
So when it generates, it's going to generate 3 versions. And I'm going to ask you to put your hands up to tell me which one you like the most. So, let's hope the internet holds. Okay, so number 1, personalized AI will become more intelligent than the person who created it. The intelligence of a being created by nature will be the same whether it is worshipped or not. The worship of the individual is meaningless. So that's number 1. Number 2 is will be employed in the production of things. People with this kind of intelligence, with the will use it for good. Or number 3, will be able to anticipate your every move, your desires, what your different needs have in common, what your soul is like. So, hands up please. Who likes number 1, become more intelligent than the person who created it? Okay. Number 2, the production of things.
Fewer.
A little bit fewer. And number 3, anticipate your every move.
I think
that's the
3.
winner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll just make it a little bit tidier.
Just
Anticipate your
remove
needs
the desires.
and
The
your
second
desires.
desires,
Yeah. Your needs and your desires. And maybe we'll just take this one out here. And then I think we have a beautiful prediction that we can share on the public feed. Fantastic. You can also illustrate the things that you make whenever you want. Okay, back to the slides. Back to you, Mar.
Okay. So that was live demo number 1, and it worked. Amazing, right?
Maybe live demo number 2 will also work.
Yeah. Gladly, Shai is doing all the live demos, so she has all the stress with that. I'm just going to tell you a little story. So I'm teaching in the games program at the IT University. I've been running the games program for many years, so my background is also in games. And I one year figured out a use of, like 2 years ago or so, of Midjourney at that point, that I did not anticipate, and that was checking the messaging that you do for a product using an image generator. And that is also something how you can use a tool like that for something that is very, maybe not personal, but very specific. And it's not about the product, it's about changing your process. So what I did was just, I copied the shortest description that I found of the games that students made into the image generator and had it visualize that. And for 9 out of 10 games, it worked perfectly. And in one game, the setting was completely wrong. And then we realized the description didn't mention the setting. It was actually just a bad description. And I did the same for the games that my games company Broken Rules did, which was 4 games, like the 4 games that are on Steam. We have a lot of console games and iOS games. And actually, it is crazy how good the top right is. That's a game called Old Man's Journey. And it was the most successful one. And it's the only one where the AI actually just replicated the style of the game, because there are enough images out there to have that information, I think. But all the others, it just tried to describe them as good as possible. And the older the games, the harder it is to grasp what the game is about, because we weren't good at writing those descriptions. So what I did was really just take this on Steam. Well, I guess, who of you knows Steam? Yeah, okay. If you don't know, it's a big store for video games. I just took this small description that is like the most important, the key part for customers, players, to make a decision if they buy or not. Copied it into, in this case, Stable Diffusion, and then just picked the one image that I liked most. But in general, just looked at this spread and saw, okay, yeah, it understands what Old Man's Journey is. This is totally the vibe of the game. So it was really a good reality check. And for other games, it actually didn't work. And then I looked at the description and was like, I would write that completely differently nowadays. This one is good. So quality assurance, basically. It's great. Yeah. Do it. And of course, you could do the same with descriptions of people, with personas, for example. Run them through an image generator and see if your persona in this kind of global unconscious of the model is who you think they are, if they have the face that you would expect. Bringing us to Ichi.
This is still you.
This is still me?
Yeah,
okay.
Until the live demo.
Oh, until the live demo. This is still me until the live demo. So bring us to Ichi. Who is Ichi? Ichi is an editor who has a very sober way of going about editing. And Ichi came up because in this summer, Shar and I had this complete epiphany at some point that what we have been trying so far with Laika is like not really solving the problem we set out to solve, which is like banish the empty page, help you in every situation, because Laika needs a lot of commitment. It's a great tool for actual writers that work with text very intensely anyway, and that acknowledge that making a good text is a lot of work. But it's a very bad tool if you want to get started. It's just not really helping you enough. And that's why we pivoted. And we thought our original vision was actually that Shar used to work in a writer's room with a lot of other writers, and suddenly she found herself working alone and was missing other people. So why not make other people? We can do that, and Ichi is one of those people. But in order to work with those people, they cannot be these obedient little servants like ChatGPT who are always like sucking up to you, basically. They have to be like real peers, people that hold you to higher standards, that you can spar with. And that brought us to the invention of our writing team, a team of peers that works with you. And since yesterday, actually can work with you, because now we figured out the technology. And they work with you, not for you. So you can bounce with them and see them a little bit more on eye level. And you do that in a very similar writing environment for now. They can, of course, break out of that later. And they get the whole full power of Laika integrated in the writer's room too. And then we will give them different abilities too, so that they can access different external systems over time, have different ways of working with your text. Some of them work more with you than with the text, and so on. And that way, they will have very different, they will differentiate. There will be different people that work with you in different ways. Let's see how that goes. In the moment, we have 3 characters that we're working on. Alex is a research assistant, so working a lot with external sources, giving a little Wikipedia summary and so on. Lotus is our spiritual guide. She works with you instead of the text very much, and is very concerned about your well-being. And Ichi is the editor, who is very dry and very somber and to the point and on the text.
Yes.
And of course, OpenAI launched their little GPTs on Monday. They are making persons too. And that's great because A, we can integrate them in our system. B, we can integrate our people in their system. It's just, it's good for us. And I'm happy to see that a huge company is on the same way as us and on the same wavelength.
But part of that is that if you can change the system prompt, you can change the world that you're working with. So at the moment, ChatGPT owns the system prompt for how everything works. If you spend a little bit of time working with the notebooks like we have, you're able to edit. When you download and work with language models purely yourself, you can edit everything that happens with them so that you're not being beholden to anybody else's idea of how things work. So as an example, I just want to show you very quickly. This is our very ugly looking internal systems for showing how this works. But you'll see, for example, I'm working here at the moment with the Mistral 7B Instruct model, and inside of the parameters, I'm able to completely edit the context. I'm able to completely edit the system prompt so that I am perfectly determining exactly what's going to come out, and also making a character prompt as well. So then when we talk to Ichi, my Ichi, you'll see here, you'll recognize him from earlier, I can say, "Hi Ichi, can you give me one sentence summary of the power of personalization?" And maybe Ichi will work if the internet is still good. Yeah. So Ichi will say, "Personalization empowers individuals by allowing them to express themselves in a way that reflects their unique interests and values." And maybe I'll just ask Ichi a little bit like, what are your unique interests? Hopefully. Oh, did I say yes? Yeah. "I am interested in writing and editing fiction, particularly creating characters that resonate with readers." So he's basically going back to his own personality, which is all about writing, editing, and being himself.
Yep.
Yes. So what I would love to say as part of this is like this whole we don't need to work with the tools that we are offered by the big companies like OpenAI. We can take this stuff and mess with it ourselves. It's not that hard. You can spend time, you can work with this stuff, and you can own everything yourself.
Yes.
That's my main takeaway. So I think we did actually do it in 20 minutes.
And we even have some extra
now
time.
we need to put on our
Yes.
headphones so we can hear you.
Thanks, Mark.
You got it? So we even have a little extra time for questions, and Martin up here is going to help us. If somebody in the audience have a question, you're welcome to raise your hand, and let's hear it.
Hi, I have a couple of questions from the online audience.
Perfect.
One of them is about spelling mistakes. If you are a bad speller, if you write spelling mistakes, will the AI somehow adapt to that or mirror it? Or
In Leica, yes, it will actually learn your spelling because it cannot really distinguish between you having a spelling mistake or you writing fantasy, so every name has a Y in it. So it will just pick up on that also because it can be part of the style. But at the same time, Grammarly works excellently in the existing Leica editor, so you can just use Grammarly for that. The Writers Room, I actually checked that today, and our system is already able to give you feedback on your grammar and your spelling. It's not as reliable as Grammarly, but it's pretty much getting there. So, so in the future, that will be a solved problem.
so if you're a bad speller, Leica will still be a good speller.
As it can be if you want it to. It can be a bad speller too, if you want that.
So you can simply ask one of the personalities in there to be spelling like an 8-year-old.
Exactly, because you might, like, I'm reading a book in the moment that, for example, has several people sometimes talking a foreign language, and it's written in English, but it mirrors how they are talking. And that is, of course, broken grammar.
Yeah.
And we want a system where you're able to write in a voice that is not speaking correct English, too. The system should just be aware of that and able to also help you if you want to speak correctly. But the flexibility of having a weird style should be there for actual creative writing.
Yeah, thank you. So now that the computer can write, why would I hire a writer?
Yeah, the funny thing is, what we have seen is you need more writers. Like, for example, let's talk about video games, because I know video games very well. If you want to make characters in video games, it's already a lot of writing that goes into making them. If you want to make a character that people can talk to over an LLM, you will most likely need even more writing to make that kind of flexibility. So I don't think there is that the fact that these systems can produce text means we don't need writers. You just spend maybe a little bit more time editing than writing, than you did writing in the past, so it changes a little bit the balance of your process. Maybe you want to add something.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. So, I mean, I am a writer and I still actually have work somehow, even though I also have this tool. And it is, for me, the case that anything that is produced with AI, it's more about bouncing with it. So if you think about like writers, I mean, I've kind of noticed now that there's two kinds of writers. There's the writer who thinks that whatever it is that they produce is like coming up pure out of this like fountain that they have inside them, and it comes out onto the page, and then that's exactly it. That's what they wanted to express. But I think a larger amount of writers, at least that I've encountered, and the kind of writer that I am, need to bounce against the walls of the world in order to know exactly what it is that they have to say, and in order to like find the limits of what it is they want to express. And so when I'm working with AI, like with Leica, for example, or with any of the AI tools, what I'm trying to do is like bounce off that wall to see what it is that I'm trying to say, and to give you the nudges to get to the next step. So it's never replacing what I'm doing. It's just becoming a tool for me to bounce with, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And generally, in all creative disciplines, 90% of what people produce doesn't make it into the product anyway. Like in video
99.
games, like 99% gets thrown away. That's just a part of. But you needed to make it in order to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
And that is the process that we want to support. Throwing away stuff to get to the gold.
Hi, first thank you so much for your talk. It's very inspiring. I have a question. Is your tool actually being used by writers, and what is their experience of using your tool?
Yeah, so at the moment we have just over 6,900 users. The vast majority of our active users who are like coming in all the time are either professional writers or professional artists in some way, like making video installations, writing books, anything to do with kind of the artistic use of words. From their perspective, like we do these surveys on our users now and then, and they say it's like 73% of them say Leica makes them feel more creative. And 100% of them say Leica is fun. So that's that's kind of what's exciting for us. But yeah, we have it's almost like our Achilles heel as well, is that the vast majority of our users are professional writers, and we need to try also to figure out how we can expand into the general public a bit more, because yeah, professional writers is a.
But maybe you want to tell one or two use cases, like how people are actually using it, because you know some good stories.
Yeah. So we have. Well, I don't know if I actually can tell the stories at the moment. Unfortunately, because they're current users who are doing the stuff for current things. They didn't tell me I could tell the world.
Okay.
Yeah. Come back to me in 3 to 6 months, and I'll have a lovely PDF of uses.
Thank you for the presentation. I were wondering if, can you hear me well enough?
I can hear you, I just can't see where you are.
I'm here.
Okay, hi.
Just because people were turning around, so I got confused. Sorry, I were wondering, these characters that you make, if you wanted to make a fictional character, for example, and you wanted to express a personal development throughout a story, how would that work? Do you then add to this personalization description?
Yeah. So that's a super good question. So we don't just use artificial intelligence for our character arcs and our personalities. We're also using procedural generation and variables to like connect into the space of like how many times you've talked to them now, what was the result of the last time you talked to them, and it's bringing up content that is like also handcrafted by me as a writer, as well as content that is being done by the AI. So we are using a variety of things together to make this work. It isn't just a pure AI persona.
Thank you. Sorry, could you tell what language model are you using, or did you develop your own?
So the old Leica just runs with GPT-2 actually, because for fine-tuning a larger model you would need more text than our users have, because it's meant to be an end-user fine-tuning, and they don't have the billions of books that you need to fine-tune an actual large model. So it's using GPT-2. And in the moment with the new, with the writer's room, we are not 100% settled yet. We are looking at, like we've looked at 30 models so far, I think, and we're down to like 4 or 5 that are interesting. Xwin is very good. Mistral, especially the Sapphire fine-tuning is very good. There are some Open Assistant ones that also...
OpenOrca.
OpenOrca, sorry.
OpenOrca, OpenChat 3.5.
Yeah.
So you're providing the user interface basically, right?
We're also hosting it ourselves. So we have made for the GPT-2, we have a setup for the fine-tuning, for scaling it on a GPU farm and things like that, and we are completely hosting it. And the same with the writer's room, we will also host it ourselves.
We're really keen on always hosting our own models and never relying on, OpenAI being up or OpenAI deciding that our content is safe for work enough or anything like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering.
And we have time for one final question.
This is from our online audience as well, asking if it speaks other languages than English, and if it would be able to learn languages if you come up with something.
So if someone would finally give the Danish funding system enough money to make a good, small Danish model, it would be able to speak Danish in a way where I, as a foreigner who speaks a little bit of Danish, can't tell that this is bad Danish. But in the moment we looked at base models for Leica, and it's just really bad. There is no high quality Danish base model to use. The writer's room, we have to check that. It might be that like some of the models actually are multilingual, so it should be possible there because they're large enough. How good small languages like Danish are is then always a question. So even German, which is significantly bigger, it's really bad compared to English.
Yeah.
But it's something we're very aware of.
Yeah, we're very aware of it. But the thing is as well is that we are a team of 3 people. So there's 2 of us and 1 more. And so every single decision that we make about what to focus our time on matters a huge amount. And we can't do everything all at once. So our idea is to perfect for English and to perfect for writing, and then expand into other creative industries and into other languages as well. But for now, we just want to make it work with the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Camilla.
And it's good to hear what it is you need. If there's any investors in the audience, please come to talk to Write with Leica. Let's give them a hand and welcome the next speaker on the stage.
Thank you.